For filling out the scale form, you're going to have to look at the iChat. When you sit down with the client, the first thing you want to do is verify their name and birthday and make sure that that matches at the top of the iChat, as you can see here. Once you verify that information, you can then discuss with them how you're going to fill out the iChat for them, or can ask them if they would like to fill it out themselves, and you can assist them with that process. So first of all, you're going to want to find all of the information you need on the iChat form, which most of it you can see here. So at the top, you'll find the SID number, which will go on the right box at the top of the form. That is unique to the individual whose iChat you have and is used as identifying information. One thing that you might not fully find on the iChat form is going to be all of the information about the court. Under the judicial segment, you will find what court the case and charge was in. Here, it was in the 16th Circuit Court. However, it won't provide you the address or phone number on the iChat. There will likely be a sheet that you have available to you of local courts, so you may be able to find that information there. If not, you can just search it on your phone or computer to add that information to the form. You'll also need to fill out the case number in the top right, and it's very important that this is filled out on every page of the scale form. Courts often will reject applications simply because it does not appear on pages 2 or 3. So I like to do that at the beginning and fill the case numbers in on every page so you don't forget. The case number is also found under the judicial segment section below the date. Then you can also fill in the client's identifying information in the box on the right. You'll fill in their first and last name, their phone number, and their address. You'll want to use a current mailing address because that is what the court will use to send them any information about a hearing. And the address and phone number you will be able to get from them directly. It will not be found on the iChat. So if you look in the middle box on the iChat, that is the charge segment. Here it was brought by Macomb County. The county offices are considered the state of Michigan, so you would just need to check that box. However, if it's brought by a city or township that prosecuted the case, then you might need to write that in and check the box below. Sometimes the client might not know this information, so if it's unclear, they can also get that information once they get their official copies of the charges from the court. Then you need to fill out the box under Section 1. This is the information about what crime they are looking to get expunged. First is the name. Here it was a controlled possession charge, less than 25 grams. Then the next box you fill out the MCL code or the charge code. Sometimes it's an ordinance violation, so it may not be an MCL every time. Then you fill in the date of conviction. The date is found in the first line under the judicial segment. And finally, the case number also goes in this box here. At the top, you will note under case number and judge, there is a box you can check if there's multiple case numbers. And if that is the case, then the case numbers will all be listed next to the charges. Sometimes if you're filling out an application for multiple charges, then there will be different file numbers for each charge. As long as they are all for the same court, they can be filled out in one application. If they're for different courts, then they each get their own application. So for example, if you had a 16th Judicial Circuit and then you had a different district court, you would have to do a separate document for each of those cases. Additionally, we usually don't fill in the judge information because that's often unknown and not needed for the application. Next, you'll look at box number 2, which for this form will be found on the second page. Here, the charge was controlled substance possession of less than 25 grams. This is a felony charge, as can be identified under the judicial segment where it says felony right next to the charge name. Therefore, you just check the box that is at the top of this application form. Again, the case number should be filled out at the top of this page. The next questions you will just ask the client, and they will provide you for that information. For Section 3, you will ask the client if they have ever filed an application to set aside their conviction for the specific charges you have filled out. Most of the time, the answer is no, and you just have to select no. If they have, you'll have to include the information about doing so here. Next, for Section 4, you will ask if they have ever applied to set aside any other convictions besides the ones they are doing here. Again, most of the time the answer is no. If not, you will have to include that information in the box below. Finally, you will have to ask if they have ever had any charges dismissed or deferred. If they have, you'll include those on line 5. And finally, question 6, you will have to make sure that they don't have any charges presently pending against them. This would bar them from being eligible, so oftentimes you may want to ask this question before you are filling out the entire application. At the bottom in part 6 is the station. At the bottom, section 6 will be completed at the notary station. So you do not want the client to sign that at the attorney station. It must be done in front of the notary.